How's it going, guys? It's the Pre-Boy Offense. My name's Saj, and we are going to be talking about my three love and hate games this week for Survivor picks. Uh, Really interesting week. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of great games this week, a lot of really close games, and I think that's just kind of what happens with the NFL season as teams start to realize we're not really playoff teams, or we should just be if we lose a couple more games, we get better draft picks. That kind of mentality creeps into like these rosters and to like these GMs and stuff like that. So the effort, the competitive discrepancy is really more prevalent now, and it's almost, I don't want to say it's getting easier, but it's getting harder to find the love games because the competitive teams now are we're using them up as we can. So we have to really start discerning the close games that we can use to stay us away from the pack of like you keeping us away from those big upsets, and then we go out with like how everything happened like last week with the Jets and stuff making that big upset, probably cutting a lot of your survivor pools in half. Okay, so sorry. So to start, we're gonna start with some of these hate games, and I did a full week preview. So I'm just gonna go over these ones a little bit more in depth and just kind of understand why I hate these games. But the first game is the Chargers versus Philly. If you listen to my week preview, you would have learned about how Philly ran the ball a lot with a lot of different runners. 50-yard rushers rushing from three different players on the Philly team. And just conveniently, they're going up against a Chargers defense who like leaks rushing yards. A good defensive line for rushing the passer, but not the best in terms of stopping the run. So I just think in terms of a matchup perspective, obviously Philly's not throwing the ball, so that secondary for the Chargers is going to be kind of nullified. There's like really no advantage there because this team doesn't play to that. And if they consistently run the ball the way they do, the Chargers are going to have to stack a box, but even then, so with that many fresh legs, you guys start thinking third, fourth quarter, there's going to be some relevance in those rushes. And I just think kind of similar to the way the Packers ate at the clock against the Cardinals in that Thursday night game last week, this is like a really good way of Philly to kind of keep this game close. And we've seen Herbert not be as efficient on third downs as he normally is. The interceptions last week weren't completely on him. There was just a miscommunication on that team with some of the players. He's not really getting Mike Williams involved as much as he was in the beginning of the year. So all these things kind of contribute to let's see where the Chargers are at. And because we have to kind of wait and figure it out, there are some teams that I'd be comfortable taking the Chargers in, still trying to figure it out against. But a Philly team that specializes in something the Chargers can't stop, that just makes this a no-go for me. So I won't be touching this game at all. I do believe Herbert can dice up the Philly secondary, though. It's just, will he, right? And will he have enough time to do it? All right, so the next game that I hate, Giants versus Raiders. This looked like, I've been talking about the Raiders all year as a team that I think we're super comfortable taking, the way Derek Carr's been playing. But then one off-season issue or off-field issue after another kind of just keeps making this team harder and harder to pick. They won the game after John Gruden left the team with all this Henry Ruggs information now, though, all this everything that he's done. It's just so tough. Like that affects a locker room in such a negative way. The headlines, all the stuff that they have to deal with that isn't even like solely about the X's and O's on the football field. All of that is just a cloud that kind of surrounds this team that I really don't want to deal with right now. Whereas this would have been one of my love games if they had Henry Ruggs and didn't have to deal with that situation. And then the Giants, on the other hand, like I said, fantasy-wise, Daniel Jones is playing great. He's kind of carrying that team, but the level it carried that team in the beginning, it's fizzling out now. He can't keep that up the whole season, and you're seeing that it's just getting harder and harder for them to do anything. I think the Raiders are a more confident team than the Chiefs, so they lost to the Chiefs by 3 points. The Giants, they're going to lose to the Raiders by more potentially if they, if this Raiders team was in a vacuum and didn't have to deal with that off-field stuff, but that's not the situation here. So we're going to stay away from that just because those question marks, those variables that nobody can really kind of like understand. Yeah, it's just something I'm going to stay away from. And then the last game I hate, Cardinals versus 49ers. There's a lot of injury question marks right now. Does Kyler Murray play? If Kyler Murray plays, Cliff Kingsbury said he's only going to play if he's like, high speed or like a high caliber or something like that. So and he's a game time decision. So there's a genuine chance Colt McCoy could be playing. DeAndre Hopkins is questionable with that thigh injury. AJ Green's out with COVID. They have 3 assistant coaches that are out right now because of COVID protocol. The 49ers are kind of on a questionable side with Deebo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell. They still have other weapons, but they refuse to throw it to Brandon Ayuk. Maybe they'll get him involved. And then Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be playing. It looks like George Kittle's coming back. So I think relatively the Cardinals defense is healthy outside the JJ Watt stuff and all that, but I think that defense could match up well against the 49ers and make this a battle, but is the Cardinals offense going to be enough to carry? Obviously they have a plethora of weapons. Their running backs are still healthy. Christian Kirk, Rondale Moore is still there. Zach Ertz, the acquisitions they just got. So they still have the weapons. It's just, will Colt McCoy be there, or if Kyler Murray's there and wills his way into the starting lineup, is he going to be the same Kyler Murray that we've known and seen the rest of this year? I don't know. So just with those question marks, we'll stay away from this game. I think a lot of us have probably picked the Cardinals earlier when they had the Texans anyways, but yeah, this could go either way, I think, which is a shame for the Cardinals because I love the Cardinals. But all right, let's get into the love games. So the love games, Dolphins versus Texans. Don't get confused with that scoreboard stuff. I talked about how the Texans just padded the stats in the fourth quarter against the Rams, so that they're really no threat to anybody with those 22 points that they scored against the Rams. And the Dolphins, they're coming out, like I said, with something to prove. I think with no pass rush that the Texans have, that it's going to be easy for Tua to manage that pocket. When Tua's got time, he's got a long throwing time. He likes to hold the ball. And when he's got no pressure, he's going to make it work. He makes Waddle better when he's out there as opposed to Jacoby Brissett. So love the pick of Dolphins versus Texans. It's a good team versus bad team. I know the Dolphins are kind of underperforming this year, but I still think in this competition with the Texans, you can confidently take the Dolphins to win. And that's one of those ones where a lot of people probably won't be picking the Dolphins, hopefully, in your pool, and you can stay away from those big upset games, kind of like a Ravens-Vikings, if people want that, or like that KC-Green Bay game, if people just assume KC's going to win with the Rodgers COVID situation and stuff. So I like this pick a lot. The next game I love, Cowboys versus Broncos. So again, this is good team versus bad team. You're going to be using one of your big guns, however, and I know we've talked about how favorable the Cowboys schedule is, with them being in the NFC East, a lot of really bad teams, so a lot of late season matchups that are really nice. But if Dallas can keep winning the way they are, they'll probably be looking at a 1 or 2 seed, I think, with some of the hiccups, and as long as they stay healthy from other teams and stuff like that. So they might not even be playing relevant football games the last 2 weeks of the season, potentially. If you're a Cowboys fan, you're probably hoping for that. And then with the Broncos, I talked about how this sell mentality kind of creeped in, getting rid of Von Miller. People are already talking about the Broncos being in for Aaron Rodgers next year in the trade market and stuff like that, or availability and stuff like that. So when you already have a mentality going that way, you started 3-0, you lost a bunch of games. You have a good defense still in the secondary. Your secondary stacked, but I just think if Dak is coming back, he can take care of this team, keep the Cowboys winning, kind of really get a clamp on that number 1 spot. And I just think the Cowboys over Broncos is a great pick this week, especially in a really muddied week. So, and the last game, Rams versus Titans. We talked about how the Rams have a really hard schedule coming up, but they were helped out a lot by that Derrick Henry injury. If Derrick Henry's playing in this game, my predictions, my outlook for this game is going to look completely different. But that injury, I'm talking about a lot of mental locker room stuff. That injury really just puts a team on its ass. I mean, we're talking about this guy breaking full season records within 16 games, let alone the 17th game that they're going to have. And we're talking about the Hall of Fame potential of Derrick Henry. That's been a big narrative in the media and stuff like that. This team's heart and soul was Derrick Henry and how they could just run him. And yeah, he's been neutralized in games versus the Cardinals. Their last game he was neutralized versus the Colts, but he's still a very productive player. And the way that they keep the box honest from the defense that they're playing is with the threat of Derrick Henry, and that opens up A.J. Brown and Julio Jones and stuff. And I just think when you take that away, the respect that Adrian Peterson's going to get is not what Adrian Peterson was going to get 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. But I just like how we have probably the MVP in Matthew Stafford, a great probably the best performing wide receiver in the league right now in Cooper Kupp. They should take this, especially with the injuries on the Titans defense. Their cornerback room is pretty beat up right now, and if there's ever going to be a team that takes advantage of that, probably be the Rams and then the Cardinals and the Cowboys and stuff. So that's a shame. I know I talked about taking the Rams last week against Houston, but if you didn't, this is I think a good time to grab them. And it's a Sunday night game, so it'll be a nice fun watch. But yeah, those are 3 games I love and hate this week, guys. Another one to stay away from, Panthers versus Patriots. I just talked about the kind of volatility and a lot of the statistics there for both those teams. And if the Panthers pass rush can figure it out, they'll put Mac Jones under pressure, maybe throw him off his rhythm, and that'll be enough maybe. But we don't really know. So that was kind of one I was on the fence about. But Mac Jones seems to just, kind of just pick teams apart, not in a spectacular way, but in a very efficient way. So yeah, it's just another one to chew on. But yeah, I'll just go over them again. Love games. Dolphins over Texans, Cowboys over Broncos, Rams over Titans, and my hate games, Chargers versus Philly, Giants versus Raiders, Cardinals versus 49ers. And I think it's pretty evident, maybe outside of that Philly-Chargers game that I outlined there, why we hate those games. But yeah, guys, best of luck with your picks this week. Getting into the home stretch now, the second half, so you'll be able to start seeing teams kind of weed out now in your league. So try and be the one that stays above, keeps your head above water, and just keep making the smart picks. All right, have a good one.